So Jordan, I began, leaning casually against a cluttered workbench that was half rocket parts, half old PC remains, and entirely chaotic. Hypothetically, I said slowly, let's say you had a fence. Jordan's eyes lit up like a kid on Christmas morning. A fence. A very, very boring fence, I clarified. Beige. He shuddered. The worst kind. Exactly. And say, hypothetically, you wanted to film this fence experiencing a sudden, controlled, comically dramatic structural failure. For an art project, I added quickly. Emphasis on comical. Controlled. Jordan rubbed his hands together like a cartoon villain. Structural failure. As in, collapse? Explode. Now, to understand why I was here with Jordan, we need to rewind. My fence wasn't just a fence. It was art. I'd spent weeks the previous summer transforming dull planks into a swirling mural of colors. Turquoise blended into sunshine yellow, magenta stripes darted across electric blue, and little hidden critters peeked out from behind vibrant strokes. It was alive. A statement. It screamed, "Hey world. Someone colorful lives here." Saturday morning, coffee in hand. I admired it like a proud parent. That's when I saw him, Gregory Madsen, chairman of the HOA Architectural Review Committee. The self-appointed Pope of Beige. Clipboard in hand, jaw set like he was off to outlaw joy itself. He stopped exactly at my property line and peered over his glasses. "Mr. Bradford," he began. "Parcel 92D. Perimeter fence." "Morning, Greg," I said, aiming for cheerful. "Pretty, isn't it?" Greg didn't even look. He stared at his clipboard like it was the Constitution. "Your fence is in violation of HOA Bylaw 12B, subsection 6. Exterior fence coloration. Violation? It's art. My neighbor Linda says it brightens the whole block." "Linda is not on the committee," he replied, his tone as dry as unbuttered toast. "Our guidelines specify the approved palette per Appendix E." "Which includes what? Desert tan and depression gray? Almond mist, cream whisper, and yes, desert tan." I choked on my coffee. "Cream whisper? That sounds like a haunted marshmallow." Greg was unmoved. "You have 15 calendar days to bring your fence into compliance, or daily fines will commence." I sputtered. This wasn't just about paint. It was an attack on creativity. An aesthetic mugging. So I fought back. Sent an email to the board with photos of the mural. Got Linda to write a letter. Even made a PowerPoint for the ARC meeting. It makes people smile. I pleaded. "Isn't that worth something?" Greg, adjusting his tie, replied, "Uniformity maintains property value. And mindless taupe maintains what? A sense of despair." The appeal was denied. I was told to select a compliant color within 48 hours. Defeated, I drove to the hardware store, staring blankly at rows of paint. But then something shifted. If I had to comply, I would do it so thoroughly, so painfully on the nose, that no one could ignore it. I bought 2 gallons of the most miserable option, Cream Whisper. In person, it looked like a ghost's elbow. The weekend arrived. I laid out drop cloths, suited up in old clothes, and opened the paint. The smell alone was a cry for help. Stroke by stroke, I covered my beautiful mural. Each splash of beige felt like a betrayal. "I'm doing it, Lacey," I whispered into my headset. My friend Lacey was my emotional support hotline. "You poor thing," she murmured. "Greg is the worst. But hey, no fines, right?" "Compliance achieved," I said flatly. But as I spoke, a new plan began to brew. I documented everything. Time-lapse videos, close-ups of the paint can, dramatic size. The HOA wanted beige? They were getting cinematic beige. By Sunday night, the fence was in homage to conformity. It radiated despair. It looked like it had given up on its dreams. That's when Act 2 began. The fence couldn't just sit there. It needed a finale. A theatrical, controlled, entirely non-lethal finale. Hence, Jordan. "No explosives," I said firmly. "Just panels falling. Maybe a little smoke. Theater, not terrorism." Jordan was in his element. "We can rig the boards with release pins and fishing line. Weaken the posts. Add some flash pots for smoke. Maybe even confetti cannons." "No cannons," I said. "But the rest, perfect. Safe-ish." "Theater safe," he promised. "Safety goggles, fire extinguisher, good to go." The next week was covert prep. Midnight tinkering. Online orders labeled for educational use. Mulch to hide smoke devices. Fishing lines tucked under planks. Every time I thought Greg might parachute in with a cease and desist, I reminded myself, this was still compliance. D-Day, Tuesday morning. Quiet street. Cameras set. Goggles on. I stood in front of the fence and pressed record. Here it is, I said to the lens. In full compliance with HOA Regulation 12B. Cream whisper. Official. Documented. I stepped back, remote in hand. It's beige, I added, solemnly. So very beige. Click. Pop bang. Puff. Panels popped off. Smoke whooshed out. One post leaned over like it had lost the will to stand. It was glorious. Well, that's unexpected. I deadpanned to the camera. Inside, I edited like a madman. Mournful music for the painting. Slow zooms on the paint can. Dramatic speech. Then boom, the collapse, set to a blast of heavy metal. Text overlays cited the exact bylaw. Title: HOA made me paint my fence beige. Then this happened. I uploaded the video, shared it to the neighborhood Facebook group with the caption, "Anyone else having fence stability issues post-compliance?" Hashtag cream whisper, hashtag fence fail. Reactions were instant. Lacey texted, "Oh my God." Comments poured in. Best revenge ever. Did he actually blow it up? I live for this level of petty. Greg must be losing his mind. He was. A courier delivered a cease and desist by 3 p.m. The letter accused me of everything short of arson. Greg called. I let it go to voicemail. Mr. Bradford, this mockery of HOA standards, this anarchy. I replied with an email. Dear HOA, as you can see in the video link, the fence was painted in full compliance. Sadly, it suffered a sudden structural failure shortly thereafter, possibly due to age. I am consulting my insurance about next steps. Please advise which bylaw prohibits unexpected fence collapse. Regards, Thomas Bradford. At the next HOA meeting, Greg reportedly played the video on the projector, demanded my expulsion. The board bickered. Legal advice was vague. My story, though thin, had video proof. They fined me for debris and fence maintenance. Manageable. Greg aged 10 years and 2 weeks. He refused to make eye contact. I eventually replaced the fence with natural cedar, not beige, but not forbidden either. Greg approved it with a scribbled signature. Sometimes, you don't win by fighting the rules. You win by obeying them so hard, the rules collapse under the weight of their own absurdity. Figuratively speaking, of course.